Hey guys, today we're doing Chapter 1, Section 7, which is on standard deviation and variance. So standard deviation and variance are really important because we're going to be using them more and more in this class. So it's really important to learn them now and then remember them throughout the course and remember what they actually mean. So standard deviation and variance are measures of spread. We've already talked about measures of center like mean, median, and mode, which kind of tells where the center of our data set is. These standard deviation and variance kind of tell us how spread out our data is. So measures of spread, we have interquartile range, which is our IQR, which was our Q3 minus our Q1. We have range, which was our maximum minus our minimum. And now we have variance, which is about the average of our squared deviations, or the difference of each data value from the mean. The formula here is that I take the sum from I equals 1 to n of my x sub I values minus the mean squared. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm finding the mean, I'm taking each of my values minus the mean, and then I'm squaring each of those values and I'm adding all of them up, and then I divide by the number of values that I have. And that's called my population variance. We're going to be using population variance in this class. There might be a couple homework questions that ask you to use sample variance or sample standard deviation. The formula for that is in the book. Basically the only difference is that instead of dividing by n, you divide by n minus 1. And that's the only difference. So if it asks you for sample sample standard deviation or variance, that's the only thing that you want to change. Okay, we also have standard deviation, which is the square root of the variance. Okay, so basically it's the same exact formula, but all underneath the square root sign. The symbol that we use for variance is this little lowercase sigma squared, and then for standard deviation, it's just sigma. So the relationship between standard deviation and variance is that if you find the standard deviation, if you square that, you get the variance. Or if you know the variance and you want to find standard deviation, you can square root the variance to get standard deviation. Okay, so let's do a problem. We want to find the population variance and the standard deviation of the following set of numbers. So what I did was I created a table here where these are my x sub I values. In other words, they're the numbers that are given to me in my data set. I want to write the I values, or the index, and then I'm going to have x sub I minus my mean. So I'm going to take the mean away from each of these numbers, and then I'm going to take those x sub I minus the mean values and square them. Okay, so this was my first number, second number, third number, fourth number. Okay, so these are just my index values, meaning what number in the sequence it is. Okay, if I want to do x sub I minus my mean, the first thing I need to do is find my mean. So I'm going to add all these numbers up, and I had 1, 2, 3, 8. I had 8 of them. So after I add them all up, I'm going to divide by 8. And when I get that, I get a mean of 84. Okay, so to do my x sub I minus the mean, I'm going to take my number minus my mean. So 90 minus 84 is 6. 80 minus 84 is negative 4. 75 minus 84 is negative 9. 68 minus 84 is negative 16. 100 minus 84 is 16. 92 minus 84 is 8. 85 minus 84 is 1. And 82 minus 84 is negative 2. Okay, now I want to take those values and square them. So this would be 36, 16, 81, 256, 256, 64, 1, and 4. Okay, so now remember that by definition what I need to do is I need to add up all the numbers that are the deviations from the mean squared. So that's this row. I want to add all those up, and I'm going to divide by my n value, which is the number of numbers that I had. So in this case, that would be 8. So if I add all these up, let's see, I get 714. And then I'm going to divide that by 8 because that's how many numbers I have. And that gives me, let's see, 89.25. Okay. All right, so that tells me that my population variance is 89.25. So that is written as sigma squared. Now, if I want to find my standard deviation, I know that my standard deviation is just the square root of the variance. So I can just take the square root of that answer, and I get 9.45. So that's going to be my standard deviation. Okay, so now I have my population variance and my population standard deviation, and that's all that it asks for. That's everything for section 7.